Hello, welcome to Pop Culture Shark, a live stream podcast about everything pop culture. I'm Final Monkey,
And I'm Caleb.
and we got a lot to go over today. But first off, Caleb, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. Just kind of prepping for a new job that I got here starting in probably about 3 weeks. So I've just been kind of focusing on getting ready for that. It's going to be work from home. So I got to get the place in order and all that good stuff. So that's basically been that's been the agenda for the past couple weeks and will be the agenda for the next couple weeks. How about yourself? How you doing?
Pretty good. I was just going to say that working from home is a life changer. Your whole life will change. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. Getting close to the end of the school year, so got one kid about to graduate, so there's just a lot of chaos of getting ready for all that, so just been very, very busy. But I'm looking forward to a few weeks when all this kind of dies down a little bit. We can kind of
Mhm.
relax. So, very good. Okay, so let's get into some news. First off, let's talk about Amazing Fantasy 1000, was just announced a few days ago by Marvel. Um, Kind of a weird thing to do
Mhm.
because there's only been like Amazing Fantasy, what was it, 15 or 16 was first appearance of Spider-Man,
Mhm.
and I know they've done a few issues since then. But they're definitely not at
Yeah.
issue 1000.
Right.
Uh, but this was the what was announced is it's going to be like a collection of different stories by different creators. Uh, some interesting names on the list. Dan Slott is coming back for a little bit, but
Yay.
yeah. Neil Gaiman's on the list.
That's insane.
That's the interesting one, and he doesn't quite fit Spider-Man, you know.
Yeah.
Uh, but I do like reading some Neil Gaiman sometimes. Sometimes he's hit or miss for me, but that is what caught my attention was Neil Gaiman being on the list.
Mhm.
We also have Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah.
I like Jonathan Hickman, but he tends to tell stories better over a long period of time. So we'll see if he could kind of do a one and done.
Mhm.
Uh, Kurt Busiek, I've always liked him.
Oh,
Uh,
I love Kurt Busiek.
he's one of those guys that really knows Marvel comics and really seems to celebrate Marvel comics. So it's always nice to see him get work. Let's see who else we got. Rainbow Rowell. I've read some of her stuff. She writes the newer Runaways stuff, so I'm curious to see what she does on Spider Man. Um, that's the only name to jump out at me. Anything jumping out at you on this?
No, honestly, like Jonathan Hickman and Neil Gaiman kind of like overshadow everything else.
Yeah,
Um, what I think is interesting is they're definitely aping what DC did with Detective Comics 1000 and Action Comics 1000, where it's the thousandth issue. They're gonna get, and even though this isn't the thousandth issue,
right.
um, they're gonna get a bunch of creators together to write uh, smaller stories, and then they're gonna end the book off with something that introduces. So, like Action Comics 1000 ended with something that led into Bendis's run, and then Detective Comics 1000 led into something that became big in Detective Comics, with them bringing the Arkham Knight into the actual comic books canon. So I would assume that Dan Slott's probably going to be the last story and probably go straight into End of Spider Verse.
Yes. So this is the end of the, I guess, trilogy of his story of the Spider Verse story.
Yeah.
Um, so I haven't read any of the Spider Verse stuff. So maybe that could be a future when this gets closer to come out. Maybe he maybe do it in the future.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah. So I'm curious about this. I don't know if it's enough to get me reading comic books again. I haven't really touched anything modern Marvel in quite a while now. Uh, I've just been reading the classic stuff, and that stuff's great.
I'm curious to see if they try to do this with other stuff, like maybe a Tales to Astonish number 1000, even though like none of their old comics are at 1000. But like whenever it's time for Iron Man, Tales to Astonish number 1000, or
Journey into Mystery, or
Tales. What was Blades? Dracula, Tales of Dracula's Tomb, or something like that.
Oh yeah, Dracula's Tomb, and I could definitely see them doing some of these more of these weird 1000 issues. It's just bizarre to me. Their Marvel numbering is just so crazy.
Oh man, I think it was mid 2000s. They were like in the hundreds, went back to number 1, and then they went back to the 500s or something like that with Daredevil and Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then they'll put both issue numbers on there to confuse you. And you're just like, what? Yeah, it is bizarre the way they do numbering, and it's they figure, oh, an issue 1000 is going to sell more than issue 27, so here, or whatever. So, anywho, that's coming out in August. Unless it gets delayed, a lot of comic books have been getting delayed left and right lately because of the supply issues. We'll see.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Next, we're going to talk about our favorite film of all time. That would be Morbius.
200% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yeah, there's a great picture meme of like showing the greatest movie of all time, and it's like Morbius is number 1 with like $400 billion or something crazy. It has Jared Leto in front of the picture and all this, and it's just ridiculous. So I'm not sure if this has changed. It's already happened in theaters, or if this will be when it's on home release.
No, this is one of the first films with a balance patch, if you will, in the theaters.
Yeah, I think they did this with Cats before this, where they fixed some of the special effects while it was in theaters. So
No Way Home did it too.
Yeah, since things are released digitally, they could just do this. They don't have to reshift the film reels to the theaters. They could just make a change and boop. So the change here, and this is spoilers if you care about Morbius. The end credit scenes involve Michael Keaton, the Vulture, coming over from the MCU and saying, "We got to team up against Spider-Man." And from what I understand, they have now removed all references to Spider-Man.
Yeah. So like he's still there, but he's like, "We got to team up," and that's it.
Which means they will never reference this movie ever again.
Yeah.
They are burying this. This is basically, hey, you know what? Don't worry about those end credit scenes. Nothing's going to happen with that. Same thing that happened with, I guess it was Amazing Spider-Man 2, where you saw it was like this underground chamber of all the like Sinister Six armor and stuff.
Yep.
That's just a drop plot line, And so this movie did so poorly, they're just like, you know what? Doesn't matter. We're erasing this from our Spider-Man continuity.
Mm-hmm.
Which, that you have to wonder what Sony's thinking with some of their other projects coming up, like Madam Web.
I can't believe that they're doing Madam Web. Like, it not even a character that even comes to my mind.
I mean, there are better Spider-Man side characters like Cardiac or somebody you could spin a story off of if you're going to go obscure, not Madam Web.
Yeah.
When I think Madam Web, I'm always picturing the Spider-Man animated series, her just sitting in a little chair and, Stan Lee's wife.
Find Mary Jane.
Yeah. It's just, that's not a movie. And what's the other one, the wrestler that's coming out?
Not Bane.
What's funny about that one is somebody was talking about it and they said, "Oh yeah, it's in this story." And I was like, "Wait, and I go and look on my bookshelf. I've got that trade paperback on my bookshelf, and I didn't even know it. I haven't even read it. I like buy it at Ollie's for $3 or whatever. This old friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. It's got that story in there. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I know who this guy is.
Oh, was that Tom Taylor's?
That was Peter David.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, way back when they were doing that weird story where Spider-Man got the spikes that would come out of his wrists and all that. The other story.
Yeah.
The story we don't talk about.
Yeah. Well, if we're bringing up Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, Tom Taylor's is the best. Go read it. It's just issues of Spider-Man doing friendly neighborhood Spider-Man things. It's not earth-shattering stuff. It's what I want. So,
and I think that is. Look, here's a side rant. That is the issue with modern day Spider-Man. If a new reader comes in and goes, "Oh, tell me what's been going on with Spider-Man," you go, "Well, Norman Osborn died in the '60s, came back, and he may or may not have fathered children of Gwen, and they erased the wedding, and they made a deal with the devil, and blah, you just get this huge convoluted mess, and then all the kindred stuff. It's like, I just want to know that Spider-Man works at the Daily Bugle. J. Jonah Jameson yells at him, and Aunt May's sick. That's all we want. And so they have to kind of get Spider-Man back to a simpler story.
Yeah.
Right now, it is so. I mean, I know it's like their best-selling title, but it's like inaccessible to new readers.
Yes, we need another Ultimate Spider-Man.
I think they need an Ultimate Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
Just kind of get a clean slate everything. You don't even have to start back at square one. Just kind of clean slate it to like a ideal universe, like the DC animated universe. That was just, you didn't get everybody's beginning stories. It was just here's the ideal Green Arrow, and here's the ideal, this, that, and whatever,
Yeah.
But we're not in charge, so so yeah, Morbius will be one of those forgotten movies like Elektra that people just don't talk about. So finally, this is the craziest story. I don't know if you have been following the news at all, and I doubt this will pass Congress, but Senator Josh Hawley has proposed a bill that would restore the copyright law to the original copyright law before Disney started changing it, which means copyrights would only be good for 56 years for corporations. If this went into effect, that would mean anything before 1965 is public domain.
It's really, I don't see it happening, but
I don't see it either with all the Hollywood lobbyists and stuff. That because if that happened, if they restored it to the 56, that means that not only is Mickey Mouse public domain, that's everything Disney created. Most of their classic stuff through the 60s. That's Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, all the classic DC characters. Most of the classic Marvel characters were already established at 1965. That's Star Trek. That's Looney Tunes. That it would blow up Hollywood. It would like decimate Hollywood. So
James
many people,
Bond?
probably. I don't know how all those novels are.
The first movie came out in early 60s.
Yeah, so the novels were before that. Yeah, I mean, so many people would be out of a job like overnight. It would be like economic destruction in Hollywood. And there's so much of Hollywood's business is built on reselling those movies and characters over and over and over. And, so I don't think this will change. If anything, Mickey Mouse may become public domain in 2024 when he's set to expire anyways.
Mm-hmm.
And when we say Mickey Mouse, that means you could use Steamboat Willie and black and white Mickey Mouse. You really can't use any modern designs. Copyright law is tricky.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's just in the United States. Globally, it's all different in different countries. So don't get all excited thinking you can just use Mickey Mouse in anything. It's not quite that so simple. Take, for example, some Sherlock Holmes stories are public domain and some are not.
Yeah.
So any different personality traits he developed in those later novels you cannot reference. You can only reference things that were in the first story. So it gets very tricky. So something to keep your eye on, though. There is a midterm election this year, and if the Republicans swept the House and Senate and stuff and twisted Biden's arm, there's no telling what could happen.
Yeah.
With this, politics is crazy. So, and we're trying to make this show political, but I'm just saying this is something to keep your eye on.
Yeah.
So, all right. I wanted to bring that up because if what he has written comes into effect, it would just. I've got some Spider-Man stories I want to tell.
Right.
We can start making our own Spider-Man comic books. So,
yeah. There was one thing that because that was the last of the news, right?
That's the last of the news. Yeah.
We started this new thing last week about rants, right? You mentioned rants. I forgot I had a rant today.
Okay.
So I'll go ahead and get into that. Okay. I have to be very tactful about how I say this, though, because I recently moved out of my parents' house back in August of last year, moved out with my brother. And so money has been a little bit tighter.
Right.
When it comes to going to a comic book store for Free Comic Book Day, which was last week, every comic book store I walked into, it was just because Free Comic Book Day, what they do is here's free comic books, and then here are some of our deals. Now that we got you in here,
right.
Can buy our stuff. And I'm always like, I want to walk in, get some free comic books, and then I want to support the business.
Right.
But every single store I walked into, their deals were 10% off. And so I was looking through stuff, and unfortunately 10% isn't that much. And so I'm looking at something, say, one thing I did have my eye on was Ghost Rider Epic Collection #1, which is about $40. And so 10% of $40 is just $4 off. But then you can go on cheapgraphicnovels.com and it's like 48% off or something like that. It's like $23.
Right.
And I am definitely one to support local comic book shops, but unfortunately now that I've moved out, money's a little tighter, I have to be more tactful about what I spend on. I have to have more of a reason to go to a comic book shop than just to support the business,
I agree with you 100% that I want to support the local stores, but money's tight, and you can go down to Ollie's or Half Price Books or In Stock Trades or Cheap Graphic Novels and get it for half of what the comic book store is asking for. Yeah. I'm sorry, the comic store is going to lose every time.
Yeah, and I feel bad about saying that, but it's just something that I definitely noticed in the past week, because I'm like, they had the Annihilation Omnibus for $150. That's $15 off. That's nothing.
Yeah, especially, even you could probably even get that cheaper on Amazon.
Yeah,
so I agree. I wish I could support local comic stores more often, but it's just unrealistic. You usually have to wait till a Black Friday sale or something, unless you find a comic store that has really good deals. There's one here that does I think a graphic novel is 10% off, but if you buy 2, it's 20% off. If you buy 3, it's 30% off. The deals get better and better the more you buy, and so that's a great place to pick up epics. Um, so it just depends. The one thing I will say about the local comic stores is you will find stuff that's out of print in local comic
Yes.
stores. So if you're willing to pay the cover price, then I have bought stuff there that's a cover price just because just because I don't want to pay $200 for it on the internet. So that is the one thing I will say about local comic stores. So very good. All right, so let's get on to the main topic tonight. Last week, I was kind of praising this movie. I did a little bit last week. My opinion has changed quite a bit the past week that I've had a chance to think about this movie. So we're going to talk about Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness, and then kind of talk about the future of the MCU. Caleb finally got to see the movie, so we can kind of go into an in-depth discussion. This will be a spoilery chat. Anything in the movie is fair game. So we will be talking about the cameos in the film and some of the things that happen in the film. So you have been warned. Caleb, what did you think of the film?
So I think it's interesting that you bring up the fact that, your opinion has changed even within a week. That's kind of why I wanted to wait anyway, because, I'm the type of person who I see a movie and I absolutely love it when I come out. And then as you think about it more, the honeymoon wears off. So that's why I'm glad we're doing it. For me, I really enjoyed this film. But I acknowledge everything that people have in terms of issues. Well, not everything. There are some people in my circle who are very apprehensive of the dark occult themes, and I just think it's cool, and I'm down with it.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I really enjoyed this film. In the tier list of Marvel films for me, in terms of video games, the standard scale from S to F, this is an A film for me. I really enjoyed it. And then as I think about it, it doesn't tend to go down for me. But what I have realized is this is probably just another Iron Man 3 situation where it's so much my bag and it's by a director that I love that I can appreciate it more than someone who maybe doesn't like horror movies and Sam Raimi filmed as much. And so I kind of have to accept that.
So last week I'll say I was on an 8 when I saw it, 8 out of 10. Now I'm down to about 6.5. It's dropped quite a bit. I think if you just go with the movie and kind of turn off your brain, it's fine. But when you start thinking about Wanda and what she's doing and stuff, things start falling apart very quickly. And just where WandaVision ended and where this one picks up, I'm okay. I'm totally fine with Wanda being the villain. It's just how we got to this point, her motivations and her plan. When you really start thinking about everything, they all kind of stop making sense. And I feel like this movie needed some revisions, and I think this movie, I don't know if Doctor Strange is the right character to deal with Wanda. This is more of an Avengers story.
Perhaps. I mean, this kind of could be considered their if anything, this is very much aping Avengers Disassembled.
Yes.
In a way. I get why you get Doctor Strange to do it. But they're definitely making him the honestly, he's kind of got the Reed Richards thing going on, where where there's a universe where he is the bad guy of the whole multiverse, and where he's not happy in any universe, which I find really interesting.
Yeah, so in the comic books, there was a Reed Richards found a council of Reeds where there was like all the Reeds from like every dimension were teaming up trying to solve the universe's problems or the multiverse's problems. So in this one, Doctor Strange is finding out about some of the other Doctor Stranges from other realities.
I do have a question, because in terms of, I've had a lot of people tell me about this, but no one's been able to adequately tell me about their issues with Wanda herself. I personally thought it was pretty self-explanatory. So what would be your issue?
So the way WandaVision ended was she realized that Westview was a sham, and so she shut it all down and then she left, and it kind of seemed like there should be consequences for her, but they didn't know how to handle her. She was too powerful, so it's kind of like, okay, well, as long as you're good, we're going to kind of leave you alone because your reality warping powers are too strong. But at the end, the end credit scene seemed to imply that she was using what's it called, the Darkhold, the Darkhold. And it seemed like her children were calling out to her and they were in pain, like they still existed somewhere and she was going to find them. And so we get to this, it seems like her kids do exist and they're everywhere. They're in multiple dimensions. And I feel like there was a disconnect there. Like, I don't know. It seemed like to me a better plot would be the Illuminati had done something where her kids were too powerful, too dangerous. They could never exist. We're going to make sure they never exist in any reality. And then she goes to war with the Illuminati. I think that makes a little bit more sense. The other thing was she totally seemed to forget that Vision existed. It is a weird omission from this movie. I don't know why they didn't have the Ultron bots that were being controlled by the Illuminati. I didn't know why they didn't have Vision show up as either part of the Illuminati or leading those robots.
It would have been interesting.
It would have given the movie a little bit more emotional weight, her having to confront him again. And as I was saying earlier, when she attacks the, I'm not sure what you call it, this where all the sorcerers are hanging out.
I can't remember what it's called.
I can't remember what it's called either. But when she attacks that city, if they just has a ragtag group of Avengers just show up in that scene right there, just have like Falcon, Hawkeye, and maybe Ant-Man or somebody, like Doctor Strange, like, this is all I could gather. These are your friends, Wanda. They care about you. I think that would have also helped.
Yeah. Camartage.
Yes.
Now, as far as the Wanda thing, I take those screaming children at the end of WandaVision as more of just the Darkhold manipulating her.
That's I'm fine with that corrupting her. That is, I'm okay with that. Why didn't she just recreate Westview again or recreate her children again wherever she was at?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are definitely. I would probably say it's because at the end of WandaVision, she had to accept that it's not real. And so the reason she didn't do it is because she knows it's not real now, and now she wants it to be real.
But then that brings up other problems. So her kids really exist in other realities, or is the Wanda in those realities doing Westview all over again? Like, is she interrupting that, or these are kids that she had, the natural process?
Sure.
And why would she have the same exact kids?
Yeah,
there are major issues with that. This was my problem. I started thinking about it, I was like, wait, this doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
And that's when my rating for the movie started dropping. I was like, no, they could have done a better story here.
Yeah. Um, Now, as far as the Avengers stuff, if I'm being honest, like I've been complaining about this since Iron Man 3. And Iron Man 3 is my favorite one. But I've been complaining about this since Iron Man 3, which like, why don't the Avengers show up? What was that? At this point, like I'm just tired of complaining about that I just accept it.
Yeah, and I
Um,
mean we've kind of had too much Avengers.
yeah,
I get it. You don't want to throw them in every movie, and
yeah. I,
that's
I,
fine.
I,
But
I, I like this because honestly, this is the first film where like I genuinely like see Stephen Strange as a character, and I think this is better than the first one, no
oh, it's
doubt.
probably better than the first. Yeah, I would say that.
Um, but yeah, honestly, if I were to talk about my issues really only come down to one thing, one idea that was only touched upon, and the Illuminati themselves. Those are my only two issues. Everything else, I really loved about this movie. And I do want to get into the music because I didn't realize before going into it that it was Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
And so we'll have to get into that. Um, so the thing that was initially brought up was one of Doctor Strange's peers from the first film was like, was that the only way to give Thanos the time stone? So that's the idea. I wanted with multiverses, you can have Doctor Strange question whether or not he made the right choice. Um,
So this is another issue. Doctor Strange in Infinity War said, "I've looked through every timeline. This was the only way." And then this movie shows there was another way.
yeah,
And so I don't know if this was unavailable to him at the time because the one who remains in Loki was cutting off these multiverses where you couldn't see them.
yes,
Or
yes. So Loki kind of is how this breaks down because once they kill, I'm not going to call him that. He's Kang. Once
yeah,
they kill Kang,
right.
um, anything goes, and so and that's how I view it. Now, the what I thought would have been cool is if there was another way, but he saw that way, but he refused to do it, which was to use the Darkhold.
Right. And so again, this goes back to the script. They should have brought that up, or he was like, "Yeah, I saw this path, and it would have unleashed a greater evil in the universe, or something."
Yeah,
I just get frustrated with this movie. This is why my rating keeps changing because I get frustrated the more I think about this movie. It's fine when you're watching it, but once you sit down and start thinking about it, everything starts falling apart. Um, so I agree, and I think that's messy storytelling when it's like, oh yeah, you have to reference this finale in Loki. Oh, you didn't see that? Too bad. you know.
right. Well, and honestly, that is the issue that will arise with them trying to make these TV shows matter.
Yes,
Now,
absolutely.
I will say, my brother never saw WandaVision,
Hmm.
and he loved this movie. He said it watches just fine.
Okay.
So for anyone out there who was wondering about that, um, according to my brother, it watches just fine, having not seen WandaVision.
Okay.
So that's at least good. I do wonder how stuff like Falcon and Winter Soldier will, because we have a character who becomes Captain America at the end.
Yeah, I think that maybe Captain America 4 will recap all that and when it comes out.
Maybe.
Uh,
Um,
we'll see.
but anyway, so my other issue being the Illuminati lineup. So Captain Carter is a cool reference. I love that. She's fine there. I love it. Monica Rambeau as Captain Marvel, absolutely. Um, John Krasinski as Reed Richards. Finally, thank you. My two issues were Professor Xavier and Black Bolt. With Black Bolt, I didn't need to be reminded of that. I didn't need to here.
It opens up a lot of. It brings up a lot of questions.
What
are they doing with the Inhumans going forward? Are they going to do it again with that character? Or was this just an Easter egg? Like, oh hey, yeah, it's Inhumans, but we're never going to use them again, or what is going on there?
No, I've heard rumors of them wanting to bring back Anson Mount as Black Bolt and do more Inhuman stuff, which is unfortunate because I hate the Inhumans. But here's the thing, and that's just a personal thing. I get it that Inhumans are popular and people like them.
Whoa. Inhumans are not popular. They are classic characters, and they have had good stories, but they are definitely not popular.
Okay. But yeah, in general, I just hate Inhumans, and so I don't need more of that.
I think, just to counter that real quick, I think Black Bolt is a cool character. I think his powers are very cool.
Oh, his power is cool.
Yeah, it's just unfortunate. It's unfortunate that the TV stuff happened.
Yeah. Now, I also acknowledge that I believe Black Bolt was a member of the Illuminati in the comics, so
yes.
There's that as well. And there was an empty chair. Was that a mistake? Was that supposed to be Namor? Who knows?
Well, the empty chair, from what I've heard, was Baldur. It was going to be Bruce Campbell as Baldur, and they cut that.
Gotcha. And we will get to Bruce Campbell as well, because I have to talk about that. There's a lot here I have to talk about because I love Sam Raimi so much. I'm just trying to get my two complaints out of the way so then I can begin gushing about this film. This is a very interesting dynamic because I feel like I definitely love this film and you definitely did not. Very, very interesting dynamic we have here. But Professor Xavier, I love Patrick Stewart. And I know that he is a member of the Illuminati in the comics. He did not need to be here.
Well, and I love Patrick Stewart too, but we have to admit, and the studios have to admit, he's getting too old. Well, it just looked bad. He was just slumped over in a yellow box, and I was just going, like, okay, I love him, but you could have recast him or put him in a regular wheelchair or do something. This doesn't look right.
Well, and he also so for that argument, that is definitely the Sam Waterston. They're doing new episodes of Law and Order, and I watch it with my mom every week. And we make the joke that Jack McCoy is probably going to just randomly keel over and die one episode because he looks like he's about to every episode.
Yeah.
Sam Waterston is looking rough.
Yes, he is.
So anyway, and the studios also have to admit this character had an ending. After Logan, you don't need to bring back Hugh Jackman. You don't need to bring back Patrick Stewart. That's the end.
Let me just whisper. I still have not seen Logan.
Oh my god!
You can add it to your made me do it list.
So do you not know how?
I know most of the spoilers for the movie at this point. Deadpool has spoiled a bunch of them. Yeah. So I know that certain characters do die in the film. I do know.
So do you know how Professor Xavier dies?
Probably not the details. I do know that they've changed a lot of the plot of Old Man Logan, but I don't know all the details.
You know who kills him?
If I do, I've forgotten.
We're gonna keep it that way. We're gonna keep it that
Okay.
way.
All right.
So for me, the leader of the Illuminati should have been Tony Stark.
Absolutely.
And the only reason, because here's the thing, I know I just got done talking about how a character has their end, and Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark had a perfect ending. So whenever I say Tony Stark, I was definitely a lobbyist for Tom Cruise's Superior Iron Man. The reason that I say Tony Stark is because I needed some sort of guilt from Doctor Strange. Did Tony Stark need to die to save the world and kill Thanos? Because here is a universe where Tony Stark is alive and Thanos is dead, and all Strange had to do was use the Darkhold. And so a lot of pain, a lot of suffering could have been avoided if, instead of giving the Time Stone to Thanos, he just used the Darkhold to defeat Thanos. And so that's really my big issue with the film. Is one of the more interesting parts is just constantly hinted at but never exactly brought to the forefront. So that would be my biggest issue with the film.
What's your take on how quickly the Illuminati were dispatched by
absolutely needed to happen. That's she's Scarlet Witch. She's gonna kill all of them immediately.
Yeah, I thought that they were a little bit too arrogant.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, she's not a big deal. You're the big deal. And it's kind of like, no.
Yeah. And that's and this is where we'll get to my gushing. Wanda is a Sam Raimi villain through and through. Both from Spider-Man and from his horror movies. Because she's got this sympathetic thing, like she's a monster, but not exactly, in the traditional sense going on, which is very Sam Raimi. She's almost kind of like a Thing style monster, because like as they're running, there comes a point where they're just running from her, like in a horror movie, because she's just a monster. And so,
and I like that stuff. I like the Sam Raimi stuff.
Yes. The way that Reed dies is fantastic. Even though that's not how his powers work, the way Black Bolt dies is fantastic, and I love it.
Yeah.
My brother made the joke that, with Black Bolt's death, he's like, that's like killing Cyclops by closing his eyes.
Right.
So
I thought that Captain Marvel stuff could have been a little better.
Yeah,
something falling on her was kind of dumb.
Well, the problem with Captain Marvel is they have not really, with any version of Captain Marvel, they have not actually established how she can die.
They should just do what Thanos did to Quasar and Infinity Gauntlet, just blow their hands off, and then then they're just dead.
Right. I do think it's funny that Captain Carter cannot catch the shield.
Yeah.
It was a great death, though. I loved it. The thing is like with Patrick Stewart's death, like first of all, like they didn't even use the fact that he was Professor X well, because I did not get any history between him and Wanda.
That, and I just think for the Illuminati as a whole, they were not in the movie long enough for as much as they were in the trailers, which is a problem in itself. They were just not in the movie enough for it was just kind of like a roadblock. It was just like, oh, here's this little blip. And
Yeah. Honestly, I'm fine with how long they're in the movie, because for me, I know a lot of people were disappointed that this was not Cameos the movie. I'm glad this wasn't Cameos the movie. And honestly, I think if this had, because this was originally supposed to come out before Spider-Man.
Uh-huh.
If this had come out before Spider-Man, I think this would have been more well received. I think Spider-Man set a precedent that this movie was going to be absolutely bonkers insane.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, I think that, and I don't know if you've been watching the news, they've had severe drop off in the box office this week. Like it's
yes.
like one of the biggest drop offs for an MCU film.
Yeah.
I think that the marketing for this movie is not great. I think that it should have not shown any of the Illuminati stuff. I think it should have focused more on Wanda in the trailers. She is the point of the film. And then if the Illuminati stuff had been kept secret in the trailers, there'd be so much word of mouth of, oh my gosh, you won't believe who's in this movie.
Right.
And then people would be going to go see this more.
Well, and that's the insane thing about No Way Home. There is not a single trailer with Toby or Andrew.
Right.
Now we've got Alfred Molina.
Mm-hmm.
And I think he was the only one that was in the trailers. I think
there were hints of the other ones, like a pumpkin bomb and stuff.
Yeah, right. There was a pumpkin bomb.
But yeah, nothing. I mean, unless you were really paying attention, you might see a lizard in a shot if you like freeze framed it. But yeah, everything was so quick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is that's definitely where the movie drops. And honestly, at this point, I really don't pay attention to the marketing of Marvel movies anymore. So like, I think I saw this trailer like maybe like one time or something like that. So there wasn't much. This complaint does not factor into me because I just don't watch these trailers anymore. But yeah, honestly, I think if they had marketed, I think it'd be funny if they marketed the villain as Shuma Gorath.
Yeah.
And then it turns out that he's just in that first scene or whatever.
Right.
That would have been fun. Let me get into that. I want to talk about. Let's talk Sam Raimi for a second.
Okay.
All right.
Let's talk Sam Raimi.
Let's talk Sam Raimi because I have definitely just talked about my two complaints. And
real quick before we switch off from Illuminati, I did like that they used the X-Men animated series music.
Yes, absolutely.
That was fun.
I loved it. So, and we'll get to the music as a whole because it is Danny Elfman. The monsters look amazing. I love the fact, and I know he's Gargantos in the credits and all that. He's Shuma Gorath. I don't care. Yes. They don't have the rights to the name Shuma Gorath.
Oh, is that why they changed it?
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, Shuma Gorath is actually like a Conan thing.
Gotcha. And they are, by the way, they are losing the rights to Conan again.
Yep.
So.
No, that's probably why that they called him Gargantos. But Shuma Gorath looks great. I love Shuma Gorath. He's a big player in Marvel vs. Capcom, and that's really the only thing I know him from.
That's what everybody knows him from.
So that's great. The deaths, of course, are fantastic. When it starts to get into the really, it's not even really a cult. It's kind of like a cult light. Honestly, this film is really like if I wanted to get a kid into Hellblazer, this is what I'd show them.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, I have been told that I'm going to be a horrible parent because I'm going to. I said I'd show like my 7-year-old this. I don't know if I actually would, but I don't know. I feel like this is something I would have watched when I was like 7 or something.
I'm trying to think. The last act gets a little jump scary.
A little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It depends on the kid, really. When it comes out, it depends on what your kid can handle. Age doesn't really matter. It's the kid.
Yeah. And I think that's another reason why box office has gone down so much is parents are hearing about this being a horror movie.
Yeah. And it's not really until I mean, there's some Wanda chasing him stuff, but it's not until like the final act where it really amps it up. Where once Doctor Strange starts using the Darkhold, all that stuff is cool. When I don't know if you probably wouldn't call them demons, but something's I guess they are demons. I don't know. When he's fighting all the spirits or whatever, that's when it gets fun.
Yeah. So that's great. I love the idea that our dreams are alternate universes is awesome, and I love it.
It's scary too, because of some of the dreams I've had.
Right, exactly. And so whenever he goes to that one universe where like everything's falling apart, and it's like this sinister, strange thing, and he says one of my favorite lines in the movie, which is you know that dream where you're falling off a building? That was probably me. Yeah. I love that.
It's weird when he meets that other Doctor Strange. I think that's, for me, is also where this movie kind of just, the brakes got hit really hard, the pacing all of a sudden. And I don't know if it helps the movie, that scene. It just really slows the movie down. But,
let's see. I also the magic. Okay, so let's talk about how magic is used in general in comic book movies. Magic's typically very lame in movies. Like, even I showed you Justice League Dark last week. And even then, John Constantine and Zatanna, they would just, use energy bolts and fire at. So like, magic isn't creative or cool. Even in the up until now, everyone has just used magic in the Marvel Cinematic Universe to shoot projectiles and have weird, like glowy weapons, like shields and swords and all that.
I would say that No Way Home is a little bit of an exception when he casts the forget spell, but yeah.
Yes.
I agree.
This movie does magic so well. So there, just a couple things that jump out to me. He launches like these dragon things at Wanda at one point, which is super cool.
The part where they are keeping her out of the mystical city and then she starts manipulating them was pretty cool.
Yes, I love that. Then there is my mom hates this scene. She actually was like, you know what, I'm going to use the bathroom. This is stupid. I love this scene where they start fighting with musical notes.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I have mixed feelings about it. It was cool, but I'm also kind of like, okay,
I need that kind of. Okay, so here's the thing. Whenever this movie gets super weird is whenever I'm super down with it. There's the scene with Bruce Campbell where he says, he's going to beat up on himself. Oh, it's going to wear off, right? Yeah, in 3 weeks. I need magic to be weird and not just fireballs.
No, I get it. I get it.
And this movie did it so well. There's one more that I'm trying to think of, but I can't think of what it is right now.
There was a lot of, and this is a Sam Raimi trope, of people going through water and mirrors and stuff, reflections.
Yes.
And that is, if you've seen the Evil Dead trilogy, never look in a mirror if you're dealing with deadites.
Right, exactly.
It will never end well.
Deadeye Doctor Strange, loved it. It was amazing. It was awesome.
Which part? Oh, the Deadeye Doctor Strange. Yeah, let me
Yeah.
switch the picture back. That I really enjoyed. The idea of, oh, I can't get back there, but we can dream walk the
dead
Doctor Strange, and just him having these emotional conversations as a Deadeye was pretty funny. I did enjoy that.
His cape made of demons is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, there are things I definitely like in this film. It just, like I said, once you start thinking about it, everything just kind of falls apart.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I liked all the, and this felt very Sam Raimi-ish. The demon spirits when they were fighting with what's her name? I could just call her Rachel McAdams, Christine
Palmer.
When they were fighting with her, all that stuff. That stuff was cool. I was fine with that. Yeah, so when Sam Raimi got to go full Sam Raimi, that stuff was fun. But let's talk about Bruce Campbell real quick. Let me pull it back up on the screen.
Yes, please let us talk Bruce Campbell. I love him.
We both are big Bruce Campbell fans.
Yes, Sam Axe from Burn Notice.
Yeah, so his scene is it's very short. It's very funny of him just being a jerk and Doctor Strange putting a psychic whammy on him.
It's what I wanted, because it's not a traditional cameo. Honestly, it really felt like a Stan Lee cameo in a sense. Like that might have been Stan Lee if Stan Lee was still with us. But it really reminded me of his Spider-Man cameos.
Yeah, it did. So a couple problems with this. The end credit scene. if you don't know who Bruce Campbell is, none of this makes any sense to you.
Yeah, in my theater, we definitely had some disappointed people. And this is why I accept the fact that this movie is it's like Iron Man 3. This is a movie that's specifically made for me, and I accept that.
Yeah, so like my kids, they know of Bruce Campbell. They didn't realize that was Bruce Campbell. So
my brother didn't realize that was Bruce Campbell either. He's like, that was funny, but I don't get it. I was like, that's Bruce Campbell. He's like, that was Bruce Campbell? What?
Yeah, and then when you show him, and here, watch the scene from Evil Dead 2 where his hand's trying to kill him. Oh, that's what was happening in Doctor Strange. So if you don't know the reference, it hits differently,
Yeah.
And so I thought it was funny. It's like funny for like 20% of the audience. And like I said, it's weird to make your end credit scene. The last three movies, well, I haven't seen Eternals, so I can't even say about that. Or Shang-Chi's end credit scenes were okay. But like Spider-Man, the Venom bar scene was okay. But then the second one was just a Doctor Strange trailer. Morbius had horrible end credit scenes, and this one's end credit scenes are not that great. Clea's okay, but if you don't know who Clea is, it's kind of like, what?
Yeah. Well, and here's they don't even mention, because I know this because I had just recently watched Doctor Strange and I really enjoy it. She opens the portal to the dark dimension.
Yeah, someone told me that, that's the dark dimension. Don't you remember from the first movie? And it's weird because the movie ends with him collapsing in the street with the third eye opening. And it's like, oh my gosh, what's going to happen? And then the end credit scene is, I'm fine. And it was like, wait, why did you end on this kind of cliffhanger scene and then he's fine in the end credit scene? It was strange.
No, and I think that's definitely
it's an editing issue. Something got lost.
I wouldn't even call it an editing issue. It's just definitely one of those things where I'm Sam Raimi. I'm gonna end this film how I want, and then Marvel comes in and is like, okay, but we have to have an end credit scene too.
Yeah. I agree with that.
Which that is definitely the Marvel issue, which is setting things up. I am excited for Charlize Theron as Clea. I think that's great casting. I love it.
Yeah.
One character that we haven't brought up, America Chavez. I am not going to attempt to pronounce this actress's name,
It's like goat cheese or something. So, I don't know.
Miss Gomez, we'll call her.
Yeah. It's just got weird. I mean, not weird, but just a name I've never heard pronounced before.
Right. I've never seen that name. I loved her. I think that she's a great addition. She's a great new side character. Her powers look great. In general, I at this point I am now remiss of the Spider-Man No Way Home that we didn't get, because if you don't know, Doctor Strange was supposed to come out before Spider-Man No Way Home, and all the magic that Ned was doing was going to be America, and she was going to be a character in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so I'm a little remiss that we didn't get that film, because
that makes a lot more sense now.
Right, exactly. Because at the end, she's training on Camartage with Wong. And so this is definitely another one of those things where COVID really messed up the Marvel plan.
And Sony's like, no, we're going first, and it was like,
right.
Yeah.
So I'm a lot of stuff factored into, like, this movie not coming out before Spider-Man really caused a lot of issues, because that was definitely the plan.
Yeah, I thought she was okay. She felt a little MacGuffin-y to me. Like, it was just like, oh, we got, she has this power, we need her, and at the end, her power's going to save the day. Yeah. And it was kind of like, okay.
I honestly saw her as kind of. Do you remember first seeing Tom Holland Spider-Man in Civil War? I felt kind of like that, where I'm like, this is a good introduction to a character that I want to see more of.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it was like, shouldn't Doctor Strange be saving the day? It's his movie. I don't know. I mean, it was fine. To me, also, she kind of seemed a little one note. Like, oh, she has powers, so she has two moms. What else do you know about her? Not much, know?
Yeah. I definitely. I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of and this is becoming a new trope that I'm becoming a sucker for. The trope of the hero who has to protect this kid. It really started with Mandalorian. Bad Batch did it.
They're all ripping off Lone Wolf and Cub, but yeah.
Right. Well, they're all ripping that off, but it's really coming to the forefront recently. I'm writing a D&D campaign where that's the that's the goal. I'm just kind of a sucker for it, and so that probably also has a factor to it. But I really enjoyed her performance, and I can't say this about a lot of phase 4 phase 4 introductions, but this character I'm actually excited to see more of.
So speaking of phase 4, it's probably a good time to kind of transition.
Real quick, Danny Elfman's the best.
Oh yeah, the music, it was good.
It's very Danny Elfman.
Yeah.
Very, very Tim Burton-y. I loved it.
So we're going to talk a little bit about our speculation, and then some of the weird 4chan rumors that we're hearing thrown around. We're going to discuss right here. So we don't think these are spoilers, but we could definitely be right. One of the things this movie brought up was incursions. I do not think the movie explained it very well at all.
No, that's definitely.
And I think that hurts the end credit scene where she's like, "Oh, there's an incursion we got to go deal with that you caused." Okay, and it's kind of like, wait, what was an incursion again?
Yeah.
So if I recall, it's been a little bit since I've read the Secret Wars story in the comics. This is when two universes are like colliding, two alternate realities are. Two parts of the multiverse are colliding into each other, and only one can exist, or it's going to destroy the universe.
Right.
So, at first I was like, "Oh, big deal, incursions," and then I got to thinking about this. Oh, wait a second. This is why they didn't do cameos this movie. They're going to do this eventually when they get to Secret Wars. And then you have like the Lou Ferrigno universe crashing into the Ben Affleck Daredevil universe, and you can have them getting wiped out in these incursions. Or you could, the big one's going to be the Fox universe versus the MCU. So
Yes.
I think that is why they're saving all that. I don't know if that's why they're saving the X-Men and have been very quiet on what the plans are for the X-Men. If that's the case, we're going to be waiting quite a while for the X-Men.
Which I've come to accept that that's already gonna happen, because I mean, they probably had like a plan, and then they got the rights to all these characters, and they're like, well, we got to use these, so let's figure this out.
Well, I think there's three things that happened that blew up the MCU. James Gunn got fired, so all the cosmic plans, everything got thrown out the window, and then he was rehired. COVID happened, and then the Fox deal went through. So those are three factors they did not know about going into Phase 4. And so Phase 4 has been kind of a scramble. Oh, we got to put something out and reconfigure everything. And what has happened is COVID has delayed stuff so much that it seems like this has been going on forever.
Yeah.
And if this had all just came out like the first year of COVID and boom, 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 we would already be in, oh, here's Phase 5 starting, and we would be in a much better spot. But because everything has just been, been hearing about Thor, Love and Thunder for so long, and this and that and whatever, that it just feels like we're just kind of, oh, I'm sick of this because we've been kind of stuck. So I think once we get to like August or September, get past the next Thor movie, get past Miss Marvel, some of the other stuff, and they start making new announcements, then I think people will start getting excited about the MCU again. But right now, it still feels like, oh, we're still kind of that. This is stuff we've known about for years, So I think that's problematic for them. I'm very much looking forward to the Guardians of the Galaxy holiday special this year. Are you still there, by the way?
I am, yeah.
Okay, you guys got quiet.
No, I mean, I gushed about Sam Raimi,
Gotcha.
and so I want to leave the floor to you for.
Okay.
I definitely have some theories for the future.
Thor: Love and Thunder. I think both of us, and I think a lot of people are kind of like wait and see to see if it's actually going to be good.
Yeah, I'm getting more and more excited for it because I've just I've accepted the fact that Thor is never going to matter in the MCU, and so if I accept the fact that Thor isn't going to matter, I'm like, okay, after a bunch of like earth-shattering multiverse. Honestly, after 2 movies with multiverse, and then Shang-Chi with like another dimension, if Thor: Love and Thunder is just a simple, fun action movie, I will be content.
I think one of the issues Marvel's going to find very quickly if they keep doing this is people are going to get burnt out on the multiverse very quickly.
Yes.
So we'll see. I don't think Black Panther 2 should have anything to do with the multiverse.
Yeah, that's actually the one that I'm actually the least excited for. Is Black Panther 2.
It should, to me, the first one's great. I don't think the sequel should be happening after his passing. I think they should just. That's just.
I think they should. I do disagree, but I have the more controversial opinion. They should have recast him.
Oh no! If you're gonna do the sequel, recast him.
Yeah.
This is a potential spoiler. This is the rumor that's been online for a while. So spoiler for Black Panther 2. If this is right, I don't know if it is, but the next Black Panther is probably gonna be M'Baku. Is that how you say his name?
M'Baku.
Yeah. That is the rumor, is that he is going to take over the mantle.
Which, I love Winston Dukes.
Yeah,
I love him in Us. Um, but yeah, I mean, like, not recasting T'Challa, I think it sets a precedent that I'm not a fan of.
right.
Because Chadwick Boseman did not own that character. Um, if we're gonna in the future, in
Like,
50 or 75 years, I want a new Iron Man movie. Robert
right.
Downey Jr. is not the only Iron Man.
And God forbid this happens, but say Tom Holland gets hit by a car next week. Are you going to recast Spider-Man? I mean, it doesn't. I mean, not recast, but write him off in the MCU. It doesn't make sense
Yeah.
to bury the whole franchise. And although saying that, I mean, they would just do Miles at that point. But
Yeah.
anyhow, I agree, and I felt that way about Star Wars Episode 9, that they should have recast Carrie Fisher. I know that's sacrilege, but I think the movie would have been better if they had just recast her. But, that's a different topic.
Yeah.
What else we got coming up? So Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is the big one. That's the
Yes.
one I'm most excited about. That is, I believe, next year.
Next year.
So
I would say until we get more info on Blade, I'd say that's probably my most excited one as well.
I would say if we get more info on Blade, it's going to be my favorite, unless Ant-Man 3 is revealed to be Fantastic Four related. Then that one I might get a little bit more excited for that one.
Yeah. My issue is, like, I'm not if they're making Kang the villain of the multiverse, I definitely don't see why you're going to introduce him in an Ant-Man movie, because for me, Ant-Man was like a B tier movie, and Ant-Man and the Wasp was like a C or D tier movie.
So I don't think Kang is the big MCU villain coming up. I mean, I think
Okay.
he's going to be playing around. I think we are building to, and that's what I was saying earlier, the Incursions. This is Doctor Doom. That's going to be our big villain coming up.
Yeah.
That we are building to Secret Wars, and we're going to do the Emperor God Doom versus the Fantastic Four story.
Yeah.
I could definitely see that. And then when that ends, then they can kind of do a soft reboot where Reed rewrites the universe, and now you have X-Men, and you can recast some characters, bring in a new Iron Man, and so on.
Yeah. Any so let's talk about Fantastic Four for a second. We have and this is another thing about Doctor Strange. The Krasinski thing only works if this is a casting announcement. If he is not our Reed Richards, then
This is bad.
Yeah, then I don't like it.
Right.
So let's move forward, assuming that John Krasinski is Reed Richards in the MCU.
Yeah. So the rumor that I sent you earlier this week was from 4chan. 4chan, you never know if it's BS or if this is actual leak from somebody in the know. But the rumor going around right now is that Bryce Dallas Howard is actually going to be the director of Fantastic Four, and that she will be playing Invisible Woman, with John Krasinski producing as Reed Richards.
Which, honestly, I'm kind of down for. Bryce Dallas Howard as a director, she's directed a couple episodes in The Mandalorian, and she is pretty spot on. Like she's pretty good at it.
I like her quite a bit, so this is
Yeah.
I'm definitely okay with this.
Yeah. Part of me does kind of like want Emily Blunt, so that way we have the family dynamic with Krasinski, because that's his wife. But I think Bryce Dallas Howard is a great choice for both Sue and for directing.
Well, I think that Krasinski's wife has said that she doesn't want to do a superhero movie. So
yeah, that is also a thing. I think she was the original Black Widow, and then she decided not to.
Yeah,
she was like the first choice for it.
So 4chan also gave a list of potential actors that are being talked to, but it did not say what roles they would be playing.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to read off some of these, and we'll just say what role we think they may be playing and if they are a good role or not.
And these are specifically for Fantastic Four, right?
Yes.
Okay.
From what I understand, 4chan's a screwy place. So
Yeah.
Paul Giamatti, which I love Paul, but I don't know. I mean, I guess he'd have to be the Thing, unless he's Mole Man. He could be Mole Man.
I want Paul Giamatti as MODOK. That's what I want.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening. You know who I heard the rumors is playing MODOK?
Jim Carrey. Well, Jim Carrey's retiring, but
I heard it's the guy that played Yellow Jacket in Ant-Man.
What?
That's the rumor that was on one of my lists. Was that he? Yeah, it does. I don't know. That's just the rumor I heard.
I guess they could make him the like he puts his
consciousness
in mode. Yeah, that's getting weird.
That's one of the rumors I heard. Yeah.
Paul Giamatti.
Next is John Cena. I'm not a huge fan of John Cena. I know he was great in Suicide Squad, and
he's great in Peacemaker.
Yeah.
But that's really the only thing I've liked him in. I actually didn't see Fast 9. I still need to watch that. But Fast 9 is really just a flex contest.
Yeah. So I would assume he'd be playing the Thing. I do not want John Cena.
I honestly, out of the list you gave me, that is probably the biggest possibility because they are losing Batista.
Oh, I mean, I could definitely see Marvel casting him. I don't want
it. Sure.
Next one we're pretty excited about. John Hamm.
Yes.
It's got to be as Dr. Doom.
I would love John Hamm as Dr. Doom.
John Hamm is so great.
My initial pick for Dr. Doom that I've always wanted is Giancarlo Esposito, who we know as Gus from Breaking Bad, and Moff Gideon and Mandalorian. But John Hamm could really okay, fine, pun intended. He could really ham it up as Victor Von Doom, and like, because I'm seeing Giancarlo Esposito as like this really scary, serious Doctor Doom, but I could see John Hamm as this like really full of himself Doctor Doom. You know what I'm saying? I could really see that. I know Twitter has been blowing up about Cillian Murphy being Doctor Doom. I don't agree with that at all. So out of everything, John Hamm is probably the best pick.
So next we have Elizabeth Banks. She could be up for Sue. The other one is, don't forget that I'm trying to think of her name. Alicia Masters, is that her name?
Yes.
Thing's blind girlfriend. I could definitely see her playing that role also.
Yeah. I definitely see it. Elizabeth Banks has got a knack for like the smaller roles in superhero movies. Your Betty Brant, I guess. Which I loved. Which I loved her Betty Brant.
I could see her being kind of a sarcastic Alicia Masters, for like, idiot, I'm blind,
Yeah.
So, so next we have, and I love that this is on the list, Jack Black. It has to be Mole Man. I mean, unless he's the Thing. Jack Black Thing, I would not be opposed to.
Yeah, I mean, like, I genuinely have no idea.
I think as Mole Man would be just hilarious. And that would be like one of the best ways to make that character work. It's just this weird guy that's just wearing goggles and has all these little servants. It would be hilarious.
The thing is, if we're using Jack Black, I want to use him in a way that, like, I would want to use Jack Black as like a music character.
Yeah,
I guess we could do a Mole Man. Like, what ideally what I want is I'd want him to play like a I don't know. Does Marvel have a Music Meister?
I was trying to think. I know they've had some obscure music villains, like Avengers bad guys and stuff, but they're super obscure.
Yeah. And then I want Kyle Gass to be his minion.
Right. Yeah, you have to have Kyle as, if you're gonna do it.
Yeah.
especially as the mole man. Then Kyle needs to be like a moloid or whatever. Um, next, we have one that I'm surprised he's not in the MCU yet. Mark Wahlberg. I could definitely see him as the Thing.
Yeah, that he got that accent.
I think that the Thing's Brooklyn accent is very important, and I think that Mark Wahlberg, it would bring a level of gravitas to that character of, oh, Mark Wahlberg's the Thing, and because you got the name, you got the attitude. I could definitely see that.
All right,
And
what if John Cena is the stand-in for the Thing, but Mark Wahlberg voices him?
well, I think at that point it doesn't matter who's playing the Thing. If Mark Wahlberg's the voice, then I don't think it matters who. And if they just do kind of like the facial capture, and then whoever could be the body. I don't think it has to be John Cena at that point. But I think one of the things that people forget about the Thing is how popular he was in the 80s, 70s, and 80s.
Well, even in the 2000s, I was actually talking about this with some of the youth, because I run the youth band at church, and so we were talking about Doctor Strange because everyone had seen it at this point. When I was a kid in the early 2000s, the big four were Spider-Man, Wolverine, Hulk, and the Thing. People don't remember. Yeah, and people don't remember that the Thing was so popular.
Yeah, I mean, he was. I mean, for a while, he had his own spin-off title from Fantastic Four, and it was Marvel Team Up, just where Thing teaming up with people. The only other person that really has had a title like that was Spider-Man.
Right.
That's how popular Thing was, that he, who's Thing going to team up this week? He has his own Hanna-Barbera cartoon. People forget that. So, yeah, I think that is, besides Reed, I think casting Thing correctly is going to be key to making this work.
Mm-hmm.
Not that Michael Chiklis was bad for it. I thought he was great casting.
I think that's one of those. Honestly, I think the cast for those movies was perfect. It was really just the wrong time for Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Even Jessica Alba, I think, is a good pick for Sue. But it was, superhero films just hadn't gotten their footing yet.
Yeah. Lucas Till's next on our list. He played Havoc in X-Men First Class. He's also MacGyver on the new TV series. Yeah. I think he would make a great Johnny.
Yeah. I almost want to see him like come back as Havoc in a way.
Yeah, I mean, Havoc is such a secondary, third tier or whatever X-Men character that most people have already forgotten him. So I don't think he they have to stick him to that role.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I'm going to skip down. Jonah Hill's on this list. I'm not a huge Jonah Hill fan. I would assume the Thing it does, but I don't know. It's bizarre.
I would not agree with that. I did see Blake Lively on this list as well.
Yeah, Blake Lively's on the list. Again, Sue or Alicia. And then the rest of the people I don't really know.
Yeah, I don't recognize. Elle Fanning, I assume, is related to that family, the Fanning family. I'm gonna look this person up real quick.
I'll type her in too. I don't know.
Sister Dakota Fanning.
So she would. I mean, unless they're gonna just jump straight in, they already have kids. She could be Valeria, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Now, I have a very interesting pick for Johnny because right now on that list, the only one who I could see playing Johnny would be Lucas Till.
Right. I don't see Mark Wahlberg or John Cena as
right. My pick that I've always said for Johnny Storm, also very unpopular, but I like it whenever we bring in Disney kids. Like we brought in Zendaya as MJ, and I really like that. I want to see Zac Efron as Johnny Storm.
I could see that. I don't know.
Because honestly, the most important thing about Johnny Storm to me is I need him to be a hothead and I need him to be hot. Those are the two things.
Yeah, I hear you. All right, so let's move on from the Fantastic Four really quick. Yeah, that is definitely the thing to watch out for is the Fantastic Four. That will be the next big thing. I think going into Phase 5 or the end of Phase 4, I guess, would be the Fantastic Four.
Yeah. Any ideas for Franklin Richards? I know they probably won't, but
you got to have a good actor to play that kid because he's so important.
How old do you think they'd make him?
I say you go young because it takes so long to make these movies. This kid's going to age very quickly.
Yeah.
And it depends on what story they're going for. You know, is he already around when it starts, or is it, you know, is he a baby in the first movie? You know, I don't know.
By the way, Franklin Richards would body Wanda in this movie.
Oh, Franklin Richards bodies everybody. Yeah. He's the most powerful character in the MCU as far as I'm concerned. Yeah, Franklin Richards, for those who don't know, is the son of Reed and Sue, and he's basically been said to be the most powerful mutant in the Marvel Universe. And you know how Galactus has heralds. Well, Galactus is Franklin's herald.
Yeah. Well,
that's how strong he is.
Well, and you got to think about this. Not only is he the son of two superpowered people, because they're not mutants, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But they both also carried that mutant gene, and so he is both that and an Omega level mutant.
Yeah.
So he's just super powerful.
Yeah, it is ridiculous. And their other child is Valeria, who's like the smartest person in the MCU. So I think they're two very fun characters. I think Valeria's relationship with Doom is very interesting. I just love the Fantastic Four. I can't wait for them to become a big deal. And
I'm waiting for you to make me read a good Fantastic Four story because I want to read one.
Have you read the Mark Waid stuff?
I've not read any I've read Ultimate Fantastic Four, and that's it.
Oh,
I've been waiting
to think about it because it's not just read one story. You have to read chunks. I think Mark Waid is a good place to start. John Byrne is tempting because you have the big four is, you know, the Stan Lee run, the John Byrne run, Mark Waid run, and the Hickman run.
So John Byrne makes sense to me because I really view Reed Richards as the Superman of the Marvel Universe. And so with John Byrne doing work with Superman, doing Fantastic Four also makes sense to me.
And if you're interested in the Fantastic Four, I highly recommend a YouTube documentary. I think it was called by a guy named B Mask, where he just celebrates why the Fantastic Four is awesome. And it is a great, like, little 2-hour documentary. Just highly recommended.
The most Fantastic Four I've done is like Matt Draper videos talking about Galactus.
Yeah, the Fantastic Four, I mean, they are, for me, they're right below the X-Men of just how cool they are. And it's a darn shame that we've had four movies and they haven't gotten it right yet. So this is definitely the one to keep an eye on. And probably the most exciting thing that we know about that's coming up. Like Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is exciting, but the Fantastic Four, if they get this right, it's going to be awesome and really open the door to some really cool stories moving forward and moving us past this Avengers era into something exciting and new. So some of the rumors that I've heard on 4chan, we'll go through just like 2 or 3 real quick. There's some type of Annihilators project being discussed with Silver Surfer, I'm hearing. Annihilators was one of the teams that's was after Annihilation. In the comic books, there's a point where Star Lord and Nova are thought to be dead, so they have to make a new team to defend the universe, and it's like Silver Surfer and Beta Ray Bill and I think it was Ronan and Cosmo the dog and yeah,
Quasar.
Quasar. That's what I'm forgetting. Yeah, Quasar, and then I think one of the ROM characters was in there. Um, so I would,
Ronan's one of them, I think.
yeah, Ronan. Yeah, yeah. I think that here's where Marvel Universe is going. Fantastic Four, of course. Marvel Cosmic will spin off into Nova and Adam Warlock stuff and Annihilator type stuff with Silver Surfer. So keep an eye on that. They're laying the groundwork for either the Dark Avengers or Thunderbolts. So that's still going on. Young Avengers is being set up. So they're planting seeds for all these different things right now.
I think what people are really going to have to get used to is the fact that, like, so phases 1 through 3, it was all one
Story.
one story leading into another.
Yeah.
That's not how comic books work.
Yeah.
How comic books work is I read the sections that I want to read, and I don't care about, like, I'll read Annihilation. I don't care about Civil War.
Right, right. And I think that is kind of where how I'm watching it now is I'm picking and choosing which TV shows and movies I want to watch.
Yeah.
So I'm not reading it, watching everything, just like I don't read everything. Some of the rumors I saw on 4chan, again, these are rumors. I have no clue if they're true. Loki season 2 will deal with Squadron Supreme, which is pretty exciting. Squadron Supreme is Marvel's, I wouldn't say parody, but kind of like their take on the Justice League.
Mhm.
So you have Hyperion, supposed to be like Superman, and Nighthawk, which is their Batman, so on. So that could be very fun. Let's see what else. I mentioned the Annihilators thing. I'm hearing Frogman will probably show up on She-Hulk. She-Hulk will be very interesting. I don't know how much of breaking the fourth wall it's going to be.
I'm so excited for She-Hulk.
I think it could be a lot of fun because it's going to let us explore the Hulk universe that we haven't had the time to do because of legal issues.
Yeah, Tim Roth is coming back as Abomination, which is exciting.
Yeah, so if we get like Titania and Leader and Absorbing Man, all that fun stuff, the Wrecking Crew, that could be a very fun series. I don't know if those people will be in it. I'm just throwing out Hulk names. Doc Samson is a fun character.
Yeah.
If we finally get Rick Jones, I'd be so happy. Rick Jones is like one of my favorite characters. Yeah, so I would definitely keep an eye on She-Hulk. I don't really care about the Marvels movie coming out unless Rogue and Mystique are in it. That's the only way I care.
That's not happening.
That would be the craziest end credit scene is all of a sudden one of the characters you've been seeing the whole movie turns out to be Mystique. And then Rogue just comes out and just grabs her and zaps her. It would be the greatest end credit scene ever.
Do you have any like apprehensions for the future of
I have lots.
So I have a very specific one.
Okay.
Because they're definitely inching closer and closer to Annihilation.
Yeah.
Annihilation is my favorite crossover in any superhero comic, and I'm afraid they're gonna mess it up.
I think they're kind of doing the story out of order, but I think it kind of works because if you remember Annihilation, Nova was dealing with a Star-Lord that had kind of lost everything.
Yeah.
And we don't know what's going to happen in the Guardians 3, so this could be a Star-Lord that's kind of lost everything.
That's also true.
So it could work that, this... and I'm so worried that they're going to screw up Rich Rider, Nova, and focus more on Sam. We'll see. I guess my biggest apprehension for the Marvel Universe going forward is they're copying more of recent stories than they are past stories. And
Yeah,
there's this era of the Marvel universe from about 10 years ago that's just terrible.
I
And
already don't.
they're introducing so many characters from that era that I'm just
Yeah,
like, oh, don't do this.
like
Like Riri Williams, and if they start, I mean, I know you like the Vision miniseries, but if they start introducing Vision's robot
family.
kids and
They already did Sparky.
yeah, they mentioned Sparky, and if they start bringing in Gwenpool and stuff, I
I
think it's
don't.
not going to end well.
Yeah, and they're doing Secret Invasion, and I hate Secret Invasion.
Well, I don't know how you do Secret Invasion unless you bring back, like, you would have to have Robert Downey Jr. or somebody in it. Like, oh my gosh, Robert Downey Jr.'s back. Wait, is he a Skrull? What's going on?
Yeah,
It would have to be something major like that, and I just don't know.
I
Yeah,
think
so
we're more likely to get Chris Evans as Cap back.
yeah, I just there are some projects that have been announced where I'm just kind of like Ironheart and stuff where I'm just like, okay, or Echo, like it's just a character I just don't know anything about, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and it's kind of like they need to focus on the name brands and not these off characters. They need to focus on the Fantastic Four and Daredevil and Punisher and whatever, Ghost Rider, names that mean something, and not Ironheart's not going to get people excited. I'm sorry.
So I think I have a theory.
Uh-huh.
I think the reason they're focusing on these characters is because you won't have to pay the creators as much.
100%. There's currently legal battles going on with the Steve Ditko estate and other. I don't know if Jack Kirby's family, but other families. I'm sure Stan Lee's family, where they are suing for the rights to these characters. Copyright law, like we discussed earlier, might be changing very soon. So they want to focus on characters that they own 100% for the next 30 years or whatever, and don't have to share any money with, which is, it's a shame. It's like, you know what? Just go ahead and pay the families X amount and make these movies, because this is what people want: is Fantastic Four and Spider-Man, Captain America, Iron Man. They don't want Ironheart. They don't want Echo. They don't want, all these new characters they've never heard of.
Yeah, I'm down for Echo, but Ironheart definitely.
Well, but I'm just saying that if I went up to my dad, who knows nothing about these movies, I mean, he's seen a couple, but he doesn't really know Marvel comics, and I said, "Oh, you excited for Echo?" He'd be like, "Who?" But if I'm like, "Oh, you excited for Hulk?" "Oh yeah, Hulk's awesome." He would know who Hulk is. These people have no name recognition.
It is really weird because there is a counter argument that I don't necessarily agree with, but it is a valid counter argument, which is Guardians of the Galaxy.
But here's the thing: that was a good story they were pulling from.
That's true. No. That's true. That's true.
I don't know if there's a good Ironheart story or a good, Gwenpool story, or I haven't read it. So, but what's her name? Devil Dinosaur and Moon Girl or whatever. I don't know if there's not classic stories based on characters that everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy was based off an amazing comic book run.
Yes.
I mean, the groundwork was there. You just had to tweak it a little bit, throw it on the screen. I don't. They're just picking characters like we saw what happened with the Eternals. There's no classic stories to draw from, and they're trying to push Eternals again to comic books right now, and I'm just kind of like scratching my head. They're having this big Judgment Day crossover of X-Men, Avengers, and Eternals, and I'm just kind of like, what are you doing?
Well, they did that with
Inhumans.
Inhumans, and we know how that turned out.
Well, and I would agree with you that Inhumans are not. This is the same argument. They are not a name brand. Inhumans should show up in like some Fantastic Four movies as guest stars. They should not have their own series. Maybe a Disney Plus series at some point, but only after you've established them in some movies as guest stars.
I think that we're going to start seeing less and less of these Disney Plus shows.
I disagree, but go on.
I don't think they're doing very well though.
I don't think they're doing very well either. But they have to have new content constantly on Disney Plus.
That's true. That's true.
And that's probably the most, even though they're not doing that well, that's probably the most watched stuff on there is that and the Star Wars stuff.
Yeah.
So they will, I think they may get their budgets cut. But yeah, I don't see that train stopping anytime soon. But anyhow, those are some of our thoughts on the future of the MCU. I just don't feel like we're going to see mutants anytime soon, which I don't. I think the X-Men '97 cartoon will be the only mutants you're going to get for a while, and at least for the next 3 years, at the earliest. Probably more like 5 or 10 years.
Well, we're also getting so Insomniac made the Spider-Man game. We're getting a Wolverine game.
Yeah, and this is a little off topic, but I heard that the studio that made Avengers and Guardians of the Galaxy is either did they shut down or they're getting sold or something's happening.
Yes, Eidos got sold.
Yeah, so I've had the Guardians of the Galaxy game since Black Friday. I still have not played it.
I want to play it.
I heard it's great. I heard it's amazing. It's written by Dan Abnett, so that cannot be a bad thing because Dan Abnett's awesome. So anyhow, we'd love to hear your thoughts of where you'd like to see the MCU go in the future. Again, keep your eye on Fantastic Four. That is definitely going to be one of the big things. So let's move on. We've got a little long here, so let's go on to our final segment. He Made Me Do It is where we take turns making the other person either read, watch, or play a game, movie, comic book, whatever that they have never experienced before. So last week I had Caleb watch one of my favorite movies. And we'll see what Caleb has to say because this is a divisive film. And that was Gremlins 2, The New Batch. Caleb, why don't you tell us about Gremlins 2, The New Batch?
I will do my level best.
Okay.
I don't know if I have an opinion on this film.
It's an insane movie.
So I think I could give a synopsis for this film. I could tell you about it.
You want me to try real quick?
I would just tell people to go watch that Key and Peele because that's it. that's it. That's what I would say.
It is the Key and Peele skit.
like that's it. It's the Key and Peele skit. This movie, I have no idea what happened in this movie. So for some reason, it starts off with a Looney Tunes cartoon.
Yeah.
That goes on a little longer than I thought it would.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: are you a big Looney Tunes fan?
I am.
Okay.
So I'm not saying it was bad, but it was definitely weird that's. Yeah. And I've looked into it, and Joe Dante said that he wanted to movies used to open with cartoons.
Yeah.
And I know he's trying to ape that. I just didn't expect it.
Right.
As I'm watching this, I'll be honest, I'm starting to question if I've ever seen the first Gremlins movie.
So this one the first one is I don't know if you would call it a horror film, but it is a straight up these creepy creatures that are crazy are taking over a town and people are getting killed and it's mayhem.
Yeah.
This one is making fun of so much of the first one. There are so many jokes that are like there's, for example, I can't think of her name, but Billy's girlfriend.
It's Phoebe Cates.
Phoebe Cates. In the first movie, she tells a story about Christmas, of why she hates Christmas. And the story is that her dad wanted to surprise him with Santa Claus and got stuck in the chimney and died. And then they kept smelling the smell and they decided he disappeared. And then, they found the body. It was horrible. So that's, this is a sad story in the first one. So in this one, she's talking about why she hates President's Day and about Abraham Lincoln being in a raincoat.
Right?
It's so funny. But it's only funny if you know the joke from the first movie that she hates Christmas, and so this one she's like, "Oh, I hate presents," or "I hate the 4th of July," or whatever she says, and then it's Abraham Lincoln in a raincoat.
Yeah, and that's part of the reason why I question, because I was pretty sure I've seen the first one.
Yeah,
I'm not entirely sure I've seen the first one now. I just thought it was something that I saw as a kid. I don't know if I saw the first one.
Well, and you definitely have to see the first one to get a lot of the jokes in this one, because they're making fun of so many things from the first movie.
So this is a rare. Buckle in, folks. This is a rare experience where you get someone who watched Gremlins 2 without seeing the first one. So John Glover is in this movie.
And he's amazing.
I love him. I love John Glover in everything. He's in Batman and Robin, and I love him. I love John Glover in this movie. He's great.
He was in Smallville as Lionel Luthor.
So I think that this is just my guess. He was supposed to be an unlikable character. He was supposed to be kind of like almost like a secondary antagonist to the Gremlins themselves. But it's John Glover, and I can't hate him, and he just becomes a really endearing character.
Well, he's people say he's a parody of Donald Trump. He's more of a parody of Ted Turner. And Ted Turner was doing to everything in the 90s, where he was making black and white movies colorized and changing everything. And, he owns the Looney Tunes. So they're definitely making fun of him. The Clamp building is definitely the Turner empire that was around the time where he owned TNN and TNT and so on. So they are definitely making fun of Ted Turner, this guy who's, I guess he's smart and rich, but he's also kind of clueless, and you see this empire he's built, this automated building, and it's kind of like this perfect place for the Gremlins to run amok and evolve and destroy, and just the chaos that ensues.
I like Gizmo as Rambo. That's a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, it is a lot of fun. Just him watch, they keep showing he's watching the TV clips and stuff, and so he's learning, and because otherwise, I mean, I know he's the main creature, but he's not really the star of this movie.
Yeah.
it is the Gremlins, and part of this is them breaking into a genetics lab that's ran by Christopher Lee, who, when I saw this as a kid, I didn't know who Christopher Lee was, so it's just kind of like, okay, whatever.
That's kind of cool.
Now it's awesome, because this is the guy that starred in all those classic monster films, and Lord of the Rings and Star Wars, and it's a really cool cameo. And just the genetics lab is a perfect place for you just to go wild with your imagination with the Gremlins, and this gets back to the Key and Peele skit of them just evolving into crazy stuff.
So I can assume that in the first Gremlins movie, there were not like gimmicky Gremlins.
No, it's just like the first movie, they're just kind of like drunk frat boys. They're just destroying a town.
Okay.
They just take over a bar, take over a theater, and they're just destroying everything.
So that's what I thought. So what do you have? You have like a lightning?
Lightning, female, spider, bat, family opera, vegetables.
Yes, Phantom of the Opera.
Smart one.
That's actually voiced
by Tony Randall.
Electric
Gremlin.
What was his name? What was his name? Brain or something like that?
Yeah, Brain Gremlin. He is my favorite, absolute favorite Gremlin.
Female. What was that ending?
Where he's like, I guess.
Why? I don't. A lot of this is very and then at one point, like, there's a movie theater, and there comes a point where the movie loses me, and I'm not entirely sure what's happening.
So it's making fun of everything, because the people are the film just stops. And so if you're in a movie theater and the people are complaining that this is worse than the first movie and they hate it, and then Hulk Hogan stands up, it's like, hey, you gremlins, put the movie back on. And what's funny is if you'll go on YouTube, there's a different clip that they made for when this was released on home video.
It was
Where
John Wayne, right?
John Wayne yelling at the gremlins. So, they're making fun of a lot of stuff. Leonard Maltin did not like the first Gremlins movie, so he's in this movie getting attacked by the Gremlins.
That's what I thought. What was happening? Because honestly, that's a weird joke nowadays. Because at this point,
film critics are not as big a deal as they were back then, because we didn't have the internet back then.
Right. Celebrity film critics are definitely different. Because you had Siskel and Ebert on television.
Yes.
Now you have people like Chris Stuckman and Jeremy Johns with YouTube channels.
Yeah.
So, and you would not get Jeremy Johns in your sequel to. I'm trying to think of what the modern.
It would almost be like. It'd almost be like Mario Lopez from Extra or something that people would kind of recognize, but not really.
Right.
So yeah, it would not translate today.
Yeah.
Like it did then.
Yeah. The very, very, very strange film. And
that's why I love it. It's insane.
The only person I can blame for this film is Jordan Peele. He's the only person that I know to blame for this movie, because I don't actually know who made this movie.
If you have seen Gremlins 2 and you have not seen the Key and Peele skit, please watch it. It is so funny.
Honestly, if you haven't seen Gremlins 2, watch it, because then you'll be like, oh, this is hilarious. And then watch the movie and you'll be like, wow, I can't believe this movie actually exists. It's real. It's not some story that they made up. It's not a skit. They're just talking about the movie.
And what's funny is, well, a lot of people, I know people who either love this movie or they hate it, because the first one's a little bit more scary. Like, oh my gosh, these things are destroying a town. They're killing people, and it's terrible. And there's some funny moments in it, but it's not like this one. This one's just straight comedy, straight parody. I love this movie.
And
unequivocally.
Here's the thing. I know I am being very emphatic. I'm yelling a lot. I don't hate this movie. I said at the very beginning, I don't think I have an opinion of this film.
I think this is a great children's horror film, is what this is.
Sure. If I were to rate it out of a 10, it would definitely be a question mark. That is my rating. It's kind of like you ever watch Hot Pepper Gaming? Whatever, like the Pepper's a Mobius strip out of 10.
I have not seen that, but that's pretty
funny. Okay.
That
is this for me. This is definitely there is a question mark. Honestly, it's like an upside down backwards question mark, where like it's some sort of weird hieroglyphic that I am not sure what it says.
I would like for you to go back and watch the first one.
Okay.
And see if your opinion changes.
Okay. Having just seen Gremlins 2, we have a backwards, upside down question mark out of 10.
I give this movie a 10 out of 10. I think Brain Gremlin is so funny.
Oh no, he was funny. I loved it.
When he's talking about being civilized, and he just pulls out the gun and shoots the other gremlin, and he's like, "Yeah, was that civilized? No. Funny, yes, but civilized, no." It's just funny.
And then he was on like a talk show or something
with a vampire.
Yeah, with there's the vampire guy. That guy.
There's a lot of things in this movie that don't quite make sense, but that when you add it all together, it's something amazing. Unfortunately, this kind of killed the franchise.
What? No way.
I mean, there's we never got Gremlins 3. They are always talking about it. They're talking about making it darker and returning to its scary roots and all that.
I know right now I don't know if it would get canceled or not because it was supposed to come out in 2021, but they got Howie Mandel on for like a animated
It's still
prequel
coming out.
series.
The
It's still
Secrets
coming.
of the Mogwai is coming out, I think, next year. It's soon. Yeah, that's still happening, and I'm very excited for that because I don't know tonally what it's going to be. I don't know if it's going to be more of the first movie, more of this movie. I don't know. uh, I think this movie, the fact that it exists, is just amazing. This movie should
This
not exist.
the series will air on Cartoon Network as a part of the Acme Night block.
Okay, does it say when?
World premiere at the Annecy International Animation Film Festival on June 13th.
So very soon. Um, yeah, there's a lot of weird projects that are coming out. Like there's a
Hold on. Ming Na Wen is in this.
yeah,
BD Wong.
yeah, it's gonna be great. I've often said that this would make a great story telling what the Gremlins were doing. You know, because Gremlins come from the legend of like World War II about them tampering with planes and stuff. So a story kind of set in that era, because they talk about in the first movie that was, you know, oh, there were stories back in World War II about gremlins that they would, you know, get in your plane and tear it up. And that's why you'd crash and stuff.
All right. The series will focus on how naive 10-year-old Sam Wing met the young Mogwai called Gizmo. Along with a teenage street thief named Elle, Sam and Gizmo take a perilous journey through the Chinese countryside, encountering and sometimes battling colorful monsters and spirits from Chinese folklore. On their quest to return Gizmo to his family and uncover a legendary treasure, they are pursued by a power-hungry industrialist and his growing army of evil gremlins. You know what this sounds like?
Jackie Chan or something, the cartoon or something.
Jackie Chan Adventures, yeah. No, it sounds like whenever they make cartoons out of those R-rated 80s movies.
Yes.
That's what it sounds like.
Yeah. It's going to be incredible. I cannot wait. Like, I love this franchise. I love this movie.
Oh, man.
It's so interesting seeing you, who is not a Gremlins fan, watch this and your reaction of just kind of like, what?
So, like, it's so weird because I'm watching Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and I'm like, yes, let's get weird, let's do it. And then I watch Gremlins 2, and I'm like, not that weird.
Well, it's just part of Gremlins 2 is it's just silly. Like the science is just very silly. Like, oh, we're just gonna inject this female hormone into you. Oh, we got a female gremlin. Oh, we're gonna inject this into you. Oh, we got a spider gremlin. And, you know, just...
Which honestly, that's honestly what I would love for like the Spider-Man stories to start doing is like, hey, we made Spider-Man by injecting something into a spider. Let's do it with other bugs and animals. Like, oh, let's inject a wolf with this and have the wolf bite a guy. See what happens.
I'm telling you, man. If the copyrights change and we can write our own Spider-Man stories, we're there. We're making so many crazy characters. It's gonna be awesome.
That's right. This is the new origin for Werewolf by Night.
Yeah. I mean, it's the whole Stan Lee just got tired of making stuff. He's like, everything's a mutant. They were just born with the powers. Who cares? You know? All right. So your rating for this movie is a question mark.
Yeah, upside down, backwards question mark.
Fair enough. So since you have not seen Gremlins, being thrown in this movie, and the Key and Peele skit and everything, it's just, yeah, I get it.
I mean, and honestly, it's such a weird skit. Like that's such a specific skit to write. Like I bet you like Jordan Peele was like, hey kid, like maybe he's watching the original Gremlins with his kids.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, like, oh yeah, Gremlins 2. Let's watch that. He watches that one for the first time in 40 or like 30 years. And he's like, what is this? And so then he goes in and he starts telling Key about the movie. And as they're talking, they're like, you're talking like a crazy person. Let's make this a skit.
I'm gonna guess it's the opposite, that they are both love this movie and they were telling somebody else about it and they're like, oh
Okay.
no, this has to be a skit. I bet they're huge fans of
Yeah.
this movie.
Sure.
But
It's kind of
Keith
it's
feels good. You're talking like a crazy person. You're talking like an idiot, or whatever he says to the guy.
yeah. Have you watched any of Donald Glover's stand up?
I don't think so.
So he has a joke about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Muppet Babies,
Okay.
about how like 80s cartoons are just the high wet dreams of a homeless man.
But yeah, I could see that.
It's like, and then the turtles, but they do martial arts. The Masters of Rabbit, and they're named after Italian artists.
Yeah, I could see that. The 80s is the greatest, most creative decade of all time. You cannot argue that with me. That is, so many great franchises are born out of the 80s. And one of them was Gremlins. And I love it. So, all right, Caleb. Let's see. You've got the He Made Me Do It for this week. So what are you going to have me doing now that I've made you watch Gremlins 2?
I don't think I can top that. I will never be able to top what you have made me do. So we're gonna do the opposite. We're gonna reel it back.
Okay.
Honestly, we're gonna do what Marvel is doing, because we just had No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness, crazy stuff, and now we're just gonna have a normal Thor romp. So what you and I are gonna do is have a normal Thor romp.
Okay.
I'm going to make you read the first 11 issues of Jason Aaron's Thor: God of Thunder, which is the first two arcs, which encapsulates Gore the God Butcher and the God Bomb story arcs.
So I think I've read this, but I have since then, that was several years ago. I've had COVID since then. And if you don't know, if you haven't had COVID, part of what that does to some people is it makes your memory very foggy and you cannot remember certain things. This is one of those things that's kind of gotten deleted a little bit from my memory. I remember a couple scenes, but for the most part, I do not remember the story at all.
Do you remember it being a time travel romp at all?
Time travel?
Okay, we are good. We are in it.
I do not remember time travel. Well, oh no, wait. There's something about a Thor with no arm in the future.
Okay, so yeah. Your memory, COVID erased your memory. This will be interesting.
Okay, yeah. So yeah, I will read that this week.
Yeah. Once again, it is the first 11 issues of Jason Aaron's original Thor: God of Thunder, the God Butcher, and God Bomb.
Okay. Yeah, I will definitely read that this week. And this is what we believe that most of the next movie is going to be based off of, is parts of the story and the Jane Foster Thor story. So,
and that is what I'm honestly the thing I'm most excited about, because I don't think we've gotten in phase 4. I don't think we've gotten a really solid villain yet.
The most solid villain we've had is Green Goblin. And
yes. Which he's arguably the best villain in the MCU. But Christian Bale as Gore the God Butcher, I think, is a contender for best villain in Phase 4.
We shall see. Hopefully, I've got kind of high hopes for this movie. We'll see. I
like Christian Bale a lot.
Taika Waititi said it's cooler than expected to be, so that's know.
And honestly, I think Taika Waititi, he's been through several Star Wars projects since Ragnarok, and so I think that I'm hoping this movie is a little bit more. Ironically, I'm hoping this movie is more Star Wars.
Okay.
We'll
see.
I don't know why, but that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah. So that's our show for the night. We'll be back here next Sunday at 6 o'clock with another topic. We'll see what that topic's going to be because lately the news has been crazy. So we might just see where the news takes us this week. But we hope you will join us Sunday at 6 o'clock Eastern right here on Pop Culture Shark. I've been Final Monkey.
And I'm Caleb.
We will see you next week. Bye.
See ya.